Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inner Power Training. Today, I have a special guest that I think you'll find very fascinating. He and I are on the same page when it comes to teaching people about consciousness. And I met him maybe a couple of years ago. I don't know. We've been hanging out with a certain group of people, but his name is Ed Baier, and he is a certified hypnotist with the National Guild of Hypnosis or Hypnotists, and he's a lifetime member of the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, and he's also a certified meditation instructor who has been, in the course of his life, teaching people how to do all these amazing things with their minds. And he has a program called Mind Dynamics. And today he's going to share with us some of the techniques and touch on some of the teachings that he has in his pocket, which are very, very interesting and totally aligned with what I love to teach too, with the Silva UltraMind, which I taught for years. It kind of all comes from that same place of understanding how the mind works at the different levels of consciousness. So I'm going to have Ed talk a little more about his background. And here he is. Welcome, Ed.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's a pleasure being here.
Great.
As you mentioned, I'm a past member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, and that's where I received a lot of advanced training. I was originally trained by a one-man team, Dr. Lucian C. Sansusi, and back in 1976, I think it was. And then I spent like 11 years working on myself before I even wanted to put my shingle out to help other people. And at that point in time, that's when I joined the National Guild of Hypnotists and received all kinds of advanced hypnosis training. And again, that was a while ago, so I'm not currently a member of them, but that's where I received all my training. I am a lifetime member of the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, and even more important, I had an illustrious career in engineering for 39 years, so I've learned to utilize the principles that I'm about to explain in the business world. So practical application of any knowledge is very important.
Absolutely. I used to get a lot of engineers that would come to my workshops.
Yeah,
engineers typically like to know how things work.
exactly. I remember when I was 5 years old, and my parents gave me a 6-shooter, a belt with the guns in it. And back then, kids would run around and play like that. I'd never gave my son that type of gift, but back then it was appropriate, and I didn't turn out to be an axe murderer. So, but it was just what kids did back then. But the point I'm trying to make is, when I got tired of doing that, I wanted to know how the gun worked. So I took it all apart and check it out and then put it back together. And that's the future engineer in me at that point in time. So the same thing goes for metaphysics. I can remember seeing magazines of yogis putting pins in their arms, and then they would stop the bleeding. And I used to think that's pretty cool that they can use their mind to do those kind of things. But I never really pursued it until I had my own dark night of the soul, which is often the motivated to learn something. So in my case, it was a short-lived marriage that didn't work out, and we had been to counseling and things of that nature, and I was hesitant about getting out of it, and that's because I was also brought up in the Catholic system, and I went to 8 years of Catholic school with the nuns. So that gave you a certain belief system in life, one of which is, well, you don't get divorced. So that's a mortal sin. And if you have a mortal sin when you die, you burn in hell for eternity. So that's kind of a conflict. And so that resulted in me getting anxiety attacks. I woke up one morning and I felt like somebody turned a furnace on inside of me, and I was just glowing red all over. Halfway up my neck, I was purple, going for my head, and my heart was racing, and I had to go to the emergency room, and they had no idea what it was, but they gave me a shot of something. And I knew what it was because it was an inner conflict. So that's what motivated me to get into hypnosis and meditation. I utilized that to get myself cured from the anxiety attacks, which took 7 or 8 months. Surprisingly, they would happen like about once a month. And also, it's like we come into this world with life challenges. I was fortunate. I came into a loving family, loving, supportive family. But in spite of that, I had my own challenges. I had a lot of physical fear coming into this lifetime. Don't know where it came from. I had a lot of unfounded guilt. Probably came from the religious training. And other miscellaneous things. So when I mentioned earlier about the 11 years where I used these theories on myself, that's what I was doing, clearing out these challenges in life. And when I had myself reasonably well put back together, that's when I put my shingle out and started helping other people nights and weekends.
Nice. Now, how long ago was that you started helping others?
It was somewhere around 1986, 87.
Okay.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And
well,
yeah.
It's good that you took your negative condition, your anxiety, and turned it around and used it to. Adversity is sometimes a very good teacher.
It is. And so, and I'm sure it was kind of meant to be, because a lot of people will have another term for it, is a dark night of the soul, where life kind of goes upside down on them. And that's what motivates them to reanalyze, well, what is life all about for me? What do I need to change? How can I improve myself? So that was my dark night of the soul back then.
Right. Well, I think right now a lot of people are going through dark nights with the confusion on the planet, the chaos, the great awakening happening. So that's why I wanted you to present your mind dynamics, the very short version, so that people could understand that they don't have to be trapped in their own consciousness. There's always a way out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people are their own worst enemies in certain situations. And we're going to explain that because it's all about the power of focused thought, be it hypnosis, meditation. We're all in a state of self-hypnosis every day. And we're going to explain that.
Good, because that's one of my favorite topics to think about. When I had my own personal spiritually transformative experience in my 20s, I could see clearly I had been living in like a hypnotic state.
Yep.
And everything shifted and I woke up. Of course, it's a process. You keep having more revelations as you go along, but it's great when you finally do have that aha moment.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring you on, so people could get your perspective on it too.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we jump in and you can tell us a little more about mind dynamics?
Yep. Okay. Let me share my screen here. All right. Now, My all-day program has 70 or 80 slides in it. And so I've just highlighted a few of them here just as talking points. And I love giving the program. Usually it's in person. I don't have an online program at the moment, working on it. But I've got all the material that I've been doing for years and years. And let me highlight some of it here. So I'll go into, oh, interesting. The Zoom highlights at the top is covering up a few things here. Let me see how we're gonna do that.
I can see it perfectly on my screen. Mind Dynamics, the agenda.
Okay, no, I was able to move it away. Hold on, slideshow. There we go. And from the beginning, okay.
Mm.
All right, the name of my company is Ultimate Mind Dynamics. And if you want to put it in generic terms, it's really about a mental tune-up program. We all have an automobile, and usually it works pretty good, but every once in a while it breaks down, and you have an option. You can open the hood, look in there, and see if you can figure it out. And I used to do that myself because it was a hobby of mine, being an engineer. And but before you can work on a car, you need to know all the subsystems. For example, it has a fuel system. It has an electrical system with a spark that causes the flame in the cylinders. It has the mechanical parts of the engine. It has the starter motor. It has the cooling system. So you have to understand the subsections of an engine before you can work on it and diagnose what the problems are. The mind is no different. It has subsections, and we're going to cover that in detail. And once you understand that, then instead of needing to go to your local mechanic to fix your car engine, or going to a mental health practitioner to fix yourself, and once you understand how the mechanics of your mind works, you're better able to solve some of your own problems. And in the beginning, yes, it's okay to have coaching, like with Rebecca or myself. But the goal is that you get to the point where you can work on things by yourself. Okay, now this is kind of a generic agenda of when I do my in-person program. I learn all about focused thought. That's where the power comes from. And focused thought can be positive or negative, and we're going to explain the importance of that. Meditation versus hypnosis, we'll cover that. 3 mind levels, again, that's like opening the hood of the car so that you understand how your mind works, and so that you can tweak things so you're much more efficient. And with all that, I don't know if we'll have time today to get into it, but you can manage your fears, habits, and emotions. Spontaneous transformation, if time permits, that's a very powerful tool for getting rid of fears. And you can enhance your own creativity and intuition. So all of this focused thought is about becoming more efficient. Now, there's 2 ways of helping people. You've all heard the analogy. You can give a person a fish and help them out, or you can teach them how to fish, and then they're set for life. The way I approach things, and I'm sure Rebecca does, you give a person a fish to get them going, but then you also train them in how to fish so that you can become more independent quickly. It's never my goal to have a client coming in once a week for 6 months. I try to get them to be a non-client just as quick as I can by training them. And I'm sure Rebecca does the same. We've all heard the analogy that we only utilize 10% of our brain power. But that has always begged the question with me of, well, what happened to the other 90%? So that's been a quest of mine for my whole adult life. And I like to think I'm doing a little bit better than 10% at this point in time. But it's a good quest to want to learn how the mind works to become more efficient. All right, now this is something that Rebecca is very, very knowledgeable in her own work. But the brain itself has different frequencies. In a normal awake state, where the mind's going 90 miles an hour in different directions, you're in a beta state, a higher frequency from 14 to 30 cycles per second. But the power to make a change or to make things happen, to manifest, comes in when you shift down to an alpha state, which is 9 to 13 cycles per second. In that state, you're in a very focused state of mind. And it's almost, I can liken it to, let's say you're at work in a cubicle and there's 2 or 3 people joking around in the cubicle next to you, and you've tuned it out. You don't even hear what they say because you're so focused in whatever it is you're working on. That's a powerful state of mind. You're using the lower frequencies. It's like downshifting an automobile, much more power. And things tend to happen when you focus. And theta is a deeper state of mind from 4 to 8 cycles per second. And that's, sometimes you can get to that level in hypnosis or really, really deep meditation. Delta is where you're at in deep sleep. And it's even more powerful if somebody is trying to get reprogramming. And you can do that through sleep reprogramming. I've helped people come up with, back in the days of the cassette tapes, you could buy them as an endless loop. They'd keep going around. And I'd have people put a little program on there and put it on when they went to sleep. And I learned through my own experience. If you recall, when I said I was working on myself, I was my own guinea pig. I had it running all night long, and it was kind of like I blew my mind. I woke up in the morning feeling a little spacey, to say the least. So I learned to put a timer on it. So it went on for maybe 30 minutes and then shut off.
And what did you have on the tape? Affirmations?
Yes, affirmations, whatever it was I wanted to work on.
Right. There are even apps now that you can download on your phone that you can record.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah. So it is possible. And that's effective, I find, to be able to program.
And as a little funny truism on that, I designed a tape for a friend of mine whose name was Bill. And I had him set it up on a certain time, maybe an hour, hour and a half. It lined up with his sleep cycle. And his wife said in the morning, the tape came on and the words in the beginning were Bill, Bill. And he sat up in bed and went, what? And then went right back to sleep. So it had an effect on him. So it was kind of funny. And so anyways, you have, this is like your ability to downshift in a car and get to more powerful levels. And it's just nice to know that it's there and you can utilize it. But beta frequencies, your mind's going 90 miles an hour in different directions. Your thoughts are not really focused. So it's not all that powerful. Do you have any other insight on this? Because I know you teach this in your own work.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say, when you get finally asleep, you go down into theta, which is a very, powerful level of consciousness. But during the night, you go into delta.
Right.
You've got 1 foot in the material world and 1 foot in the spiritual. And that's when you can connect with you call it, I think, your super conscious.
Yes.
And answers to problems, solutions, insights, aha moments. I mean, you can do some amazing work when you're sleeping if you properly program yourself.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to that end, you can just end with just before going to sleep, get yourself relaxed, get rid of any negative emotions, and set goals, and your mind can work on things while you're sleeping.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I teach people to create a mental video that they're living in, the law of assumption, the law of attraction, and imagine that that is you right now living in that dream that you might have, like it's happening now, and it'll manifest a lot faster.
Yes, yes. Okay, now, again, I can't say enough the power of focused thought. When you think about it, your brain is like a blob in the middle of a dark room. It doesn't see things. It gets electrical impulses from your eyes that interprets as sight, electrical impulses from your ears, interprets as sound. Uh, it's it's all about focused thought. So what do you think focused thought is to that same brain that's really like a blob in the middle of a dark room? Your focused thought gives it electrical impulses based on what Rebecca just said about visualizing what you want and focusing on it. That it also interprets as sight, sound, feeling, taste, smell, and the more focused the thought, the more real it is to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a real life experience and a strong, focused, imaginary thought. They both appear real. And just knowing that truism can take you a long ways towards helping change your life. But you also have to understand that if you're focusing on negative thoughts, that's affecting you also, but it's dragging down your energy. It's shutting off intuitive guidance. It's just having a very negative impact on your life. So it's up to you to change your focus to something positive and get out of those negative do loops.
To me, that's one of the most key metaphysical truths, that is, you have to kind of learn it on your own. They don't really talk that about it in the mainstream. And that to me is what this awakening is all about, learning that the inner is controlling the outer, not the other way around, be it positive or negative. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Rebecca and I are totally on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah, but we need teachers like us all over the world to keep people, it's so easy to slip down into that hypnotic state and just live by default, right?
Yes. Yes.
Opening up all the negative news that can be floating around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, on this slide, this is where we get into opening the hood of your mind, learning how it works, and by understanding the subsystems, then you can do your own tune-up. And that gives you so much power in life as you're casting off the negative things that aren't working for you, opening yourself up to intuitive guidance that can help you in life. So anyways, let me go through the different parts, just like opening the hood on your car. The conscious mind is like a computer operator, and it's the decision maker. When something startles you, you go into a conscious mind awareness where you're looking at it, figuring out, well, do I need to run from this? Do I need to confront it or what? Now, the biggest powerhouse, again, the conscious mind is very powerful as your decision maker, but you also have a responsibility to make decisions. The subconscious mind controls your autonomic nervous system, your self-image, your attitudes, belief systems, your learned knowledge and skills, and your stored habits. It's really who you are. 95% of the day, you're just operating on your subconscious computer system. It's like you're a robot, you're on autopilot.
But isn't it interesting that that's another thing that we, generally don't think about, that the subconscious is running the show,
Right.
because we think we're conscious and we're really not.
Exactly. And when you say it like that, and people's reaction is probably, wow, that's kind of crazy, but it's not crazy. It's an efficiency mechanism. It's kind of like we are creatures of habit. And when I throw that out in the class, I'll say, how many people think that's a good thing? And not, depending on whether or not they have a lot of bad habits, they'll say, no, it's not a good thing. But it's really a good thing. It's an efficiency mechanism, and we create our own habits. For example, let's say a new supermarket comes to town, and you go in there for the first time and you don't know where anything is. So you have to go up and down all the aisles, and you have to make conscious decisions on what you're going to buy and where it is. And then maybe the next time you go in there, you can cut those decisions in half. And maybe the third time, you kind of like very quickly go through things, and you mentally, subconsciously think to yourself, well, that worked pretty good. And then you lock in a computer subroutine. From that point on, you go to that supermarket and it's boom, 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 you know exactly where to go. You've created a new habit. Same thing when you get up in the morning. Can you imagine what it would be like if every morning when you woke up, you open your eyes and say, okay, a new day, great. Now, what do I want to do? Do I want to brush my teeth? Do I want to take a shower? Do I want to go eat? And you make one decision. You do that. And it's like, okay, what do I want to do next? About 20 minutes into a day, you'd blow a fuse. So way back when, you came up with an efficient way of starting the day, and you do that every day. And without thinking about it, that's a habit that you created through conscious thought and conscious decision making. So again, this is all part of the 95% of the day you're on autopilot, and it's meant to be an efficiency mechanism. It's only if you have habits that are no longer working for you that you need to go in and reprogram them through affirmations, or by just taking that area of your life off autopilot and making more conscious decisions. So for example, for weight loss, I just tell people from now on, for the next 30 days, when you go to the supermarket, you go off automatic pilot, and you make conscious decisions on everything you buy, on everything you cook, on everything you eat, and you make healthy habits for 30 days. And textbook definition, it takes 30 days to reprogram something. It can be less time, it can be more time, but that's just a good benchmark. But the other thing is you need to be consistent in anything you want to change with your subconscious mind. If you are a computer programmer listening to this, all you do is type in some new code, hit the enter button, voila, you've got a new program. And then you test it, make sure that's working the way you want. And if not, you fine tune it a little bit more, hit the enter key, and then you've got it. The subconscious computer is a little different. It needs time and consistency to make changes. If it changed instantaneously, we'd all be incredibly flighty. And we probably know some people like that. So before it makes a change, it needs to know that you are serious about it, and that you're going to walk the talk. So
Another thing I've learned about this subconscious mind is it wants to keep us safe.
yes,
So we can have limiting beliefs that will keep us trapped in a paradigm or a comfort zone that we've outgrown, but we don't realize those limiting beliefs that are protecting us from moving out of our comfort zone, like maybe, traveling or meeting more people or changing careers, can hold us back until we can see them for what they are.
Yes. And again, that's another reason why we have challenges in life, because sometimes that does kick us in the rear end and force us to look at things differently and make some new decisions. Because it's very easy to stay in that 95% zone. And then another way of looking at that is that's your comfort zone. And sometimes we need friends to help us get out of our comfort zone. Sometimes it's life experiences help us get out of it. But the comfort zone's meant to be your friend. But there are times when, as you so aptly said, your past programming is interfering with your progress in life.
Well, and this is why it's important to understand how powerful our subconscious mind is and what techniques on how to reprogram it if we so wish, because we're programmed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, now the conscious and here's another tidbit of info that shows you the differences. The conscious mind operates at 40 bits per second, which is not a lot. And that's why it's very easy to get overwhelmed if you're being hit with this and that from different directions. You get confused, you get all stressed out. Subconscious mind operates at 40 million bits per second. That's why it can control your autonomic nervous system, your heartbeat, your breathing, your healing abilities. It stores your self-image, your attitudes, belief systems, learned knowledge and skills, your habits. It's very, very powerful, and it does all that in the background. So that's why it's hard to change a habit with just some conscious thought that's kind of like a fleeting moment. You need to do some heavy reprogramming to make changes. Okay.
Now that's a good point, because, sometimes when I meditate on all the things that are going on inside my body with hormones and heart beating and blood and digestion, it's fascinating that we don't even think about it most of the time. And it's just happening the way it's supposed to, hopefully. Yeah.
And we don't have to unless it's not working properly or you have an illness or whatever. And
but also understanding something like your mind dynamics can have a positive impact on a person's health. Like you got rid of your anxiety after you started figuring out your subconscious.
Yep. It's nice to be able to open the hood of your mind and work on things, understand how it works. It gives you a much better feeling of empowerment in life. All right, now speaking of empowerment, what we've been talking about with the conscious and subconscious is in the physical brain, the third dimension of reality. You have a portion of your mind that's out in the fourth dimension of reality and beyond. And why do we care about that? The laws of nature are different in the fourth dimension and beyond. There's no time and space. That's how psychics can see forward and backwards in time. And we all have that ability. If your audience wants to think about it, have you ever noticed how you're thinking about someone? Next thing you know, the phone rings and it's them. You're in the car and you just get this feeling and you look over and somebody's staring at you. We all sense things from the superconscious level of mind, and it is a very, very valuable asset, valuable part of our capabilities in the hood of the mind, opening it up. And it's your connection to your spiritual connection, your spiritual beliefs. And it's can be likened to a collective consciousness and universal mind. So we are all linked together there in a cooperative kind of way. That's the intention of it. And to drive that home a little bit, it's kind of like you are the tower in the middle of this, and everybody else has their own Bluetooth connection or Wi-Fi connection, and we are all linked that way. So when you place a goal out there, it goes out and it connects with anybody else who's compatible with that goal that can, by coincidence, come into your life and help you in a cooperative manner.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating the way that works? Because I have sent it out into the universe or whatever you want to call it, that, you know, I really was looking for a specific kind of person to help me or an experience, and bingo, everything would just sort of show up.
Yep.
It's fascinating. I mean, we really live in a mental universe, not a physical one. So that's why studying these laws and the understanding them is so valuable.
Yes, yes. And I have a good example I like to give on how this works. As an efficiency mechanism in life, years ago, I had a hobby of working on cars, and I rebuilt two different Mustangs. One was a 65 and one was a 66 convertible. And I stripped them all down, fixed up all the body rot. That was the one defect in those Mustangs, early Mustangs. And I had them painted and put them back together. And the second one, I tried to sell it after it was all put together, and I was a little tired of driving it around. And there weren't any takers. So I just parked it in my folks' backyard and kind of forgot about it for a while. But I did have that goal out there, and these collective consciousness that I wanted to sell a 66 Mustang convertible that was in good shape. So one day at work in my engineering function, 3 different people in different times of the day, just idle conversation, asked me the same question. And that was, Ed, whatever happened to that Mustang of yours? Now, that's what we call synchronicity.
Right.
Now, being a student of the mind and understanding that concept, I immediately put an ad in the local one advertiser. Didn't have internet back then. And one person called, came down, looked at it, didn't haggle price, and bought it. So that person was putting out in his little tower that he wanted a Mustang like that. I had already put that thought out to the collective consciousness, but because it was out of sight, out of mind, I'm sure my own collective consciousness was hitting me over the head with, hey, time to put an ad in for your Mustang. And I wasn't listening. So it went around in circles and had 3 of my friends ask me that question. That's how synchronicity works. My friends had no idea why they were asking me that question. It was just an idle thought to them, but they were helping in the process. So that's a good example of how synchronicity tends to work.
That is a good example, because what you're saying is we're all connected, and we get intuitive messages sometimes from friends that might just feel compelled to say something to us and not even know why.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I had dinner last night with someone I hadn't seen for a long time. And she's also kind of a transformational coach person.
Yep.
So, I mean, I got insights talking to her that kind of woke me up in certain ways. So you never know where it's coming from, but you're being intuitive enough to see the signs and to see the synchronicities is also very important, because there's a lot of asleep people that just, we call them sheep sometimes, who just go along with whatever program shows up without questioning, and that can get you in trouble.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Another concept in terms of a tool for the collective consciousness, there is a flow in life. And once you get rid of negative emotions, you tend to be in the flow, so life goes easier. And my example for this is when I first retired from my engineering career, I was going to Dunkin' Donuts every morning, getting a bacon, egg, and cheese on a toasted English muffin. That was my ritual to get me out of the house and get going. And oftentimes I would go in there, there'd be one person in front of me, maybe. I'd order my sandwich, and by the time it came, there'd be 9 or 10 people in line. So when you're in the flow of life and you've gotten rid of the negative emotions, it tends to force you to not be in the flow. Things go easier. I get a lot more green lights than I do red lights.
That's absolutely true. I mean, I've noticed that from having trained so many people in this type of teaching. When you're living more at the alpha level is what it is.
Yeah.
And your higher self that you're connected to knows the right time to go to McDonald's, or knows the right time to do something, and you get rid of all those little upsetting mishaps that can come along for the people that are angry. That's why road rage is not a good thing.
Right. Yep.
You get what you attract, whatever state you're in. So you want to get rid of those negative emotions.
Yes. And both Rebecca and myself are real good at helping people do that. And when I said I was working on myself for 11 years before I even put my shingle out, that's what I was doing, getting rid of the old belief systems and habits in my subconscious that were no longer working for me. And that frees you up, so you feel much lighter in life, and you're going with the flow, and things just happen more smoothly.
Well, and you become optimistic that things
Yep.
will work out.
Yes.
And that's a good state to be in, because you're happier, you're healthier, I mean, I would not want to be depressed all the time. That wouldn't be a very pleasant way to live.
Nope.
There are people living like that right now.
Yep.
And they don't think they have a way out, but there is a way out. You've got to go within, understand how your mind works, understand how to connect to your higher consciousness, because there's always a solution, don't you think?
Yep. Before I move on, do you have any other comments on the collective unconscious, collective consciousness, or?
Well, I just like to remind people too, even Einstein said intuition is more powerful than intellect.
Yes.
Yes, and people who use their intuition are correct more than people who just base decisions on intellect.
Yes.
It's gut feeling. You got to listen to how things make you feel. Yeah, but that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, I think we've already touched on this, but there is a subconscious comfort zone. That's your 95% of the day thing. And you need to learn to control it, and go back to making conscious decisions where appropriate. Go back to consciously deciding to make changes in your attitudes and belief systems. Okay.
Don't you? I also find it's valuable to write it down.
Yep.
Even journal and write down things that you want to work on, and your life, whatever. Yeah.
When you set goals, that sets things in motion. So that it's like working with your tower out on the subconscious and the superconscious level of mind, where you put a goal out there, and then the universe tends to help you reach that goal.
That's right.
Okay, now, in general, by now you understand that your focused thought is very important to you. It's very powerful, but you have to make sure you keep it positive and get away from the negative focused thought. Now you understand how you can open the hood to your mind and the different levels, and you can start working with it now that you understand the piece parts. You can manage your fears, habits, and emotions with self-hypnosis and focused thought, and either Rebecca or myself can help you with that. Spontaneous transformation. This is a tool, if we've got another 5 minutes, this is a very powerful tool that I happened on through a client. I had a client come in who used to pass out in doctor's offices. And she was definitely afraid of hypnosis. She came in with her boyfriend at the time for moral support. And in my office, I had a small couch, and most clients would sit in the end close to me because I had a desk in my chair and I'd turn around. And this gal chose to sit at the far end of this couch. And she wouldn't even close her eyes. They were just wide open the whole time. I could tell she was in a deep state of fear. And mentally, I'm saying to myself, because this wasn't the typical definition of a good hypnosis session, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is never going to work. But I kept doing everything I was trained to do and giving her positive affirmations and doing what I normally do in a good hypnosis session. And I did sign her up for a 3-session program, which I found very useful. So it gives a little bit of reinforcement to help people get through their challenges. And she came back a week later and was all smiles. And I was saying, oh, interesting, to myself. And she was doing much better. I said, okay. And from that point on, she was willing to sit closer, close her eyes, and we would much deeper in the hypnosis process. And after 3 sessions, she was not passing out anymore. And after 5 sessions, she was doing volunteer work in hospitals, and she was a total success. What I learned from this was, this is the whole secret to getting rid of fear. When you're in a state of fear, you have a tremendous amount of negative focused thought. You're thinking the worst, but the energy is there. To use hypnosis or self-hypnosis, you need focused energy like that alpha state, and you need a positive vision of the new you. Okay, so if a fear comes up, what happens is you've got the strong emotional charge. That's the glue that makes the vision stick. But if you stay in the fear, you're just gluing the fear deeper into you. If you change the vision to something positive, you're using the negative emotion with a positive vision, and it tends to short circuit wherever the negative fear came from. And if you understand that, it's a very rapid method to overcome fears. When the fear comes up, you don't think, oh, I'm going to die, or whatever it is. You marry it with a positive thought, like I'm in control. And that's one affirmation I'm going to give you right now. For any fear, you want to repeat to yourself slowly and calmly, relax, relax. I'm in control. I'm in control. I'm in control. You don't want to go, relax, relax, I'm in control, I'm in control. That's just popping you out of the power area of your mind. You do it slowly and in control. You will marry the emotional charge, the strong emotional charge of the fear, with a positive affirmation. then the next time you're in that situation, the fear will be much less. And you do the same thing in a very short period of time, the fear will be gone. It's a very, very powerful technique that I call spontaneous transformation that I happened into from that one client. And I've been using it ever since. So,
Right. Now, when you're saying to yourself, though, I'm in control, are you wiping out any sense that whatever the fearful thing is that's happening could kill you?
oh, if it's, yeah, I'm talking unfounded fears.
Oh,
Inappropriate fears, not
yeah,
unfounded. Unappropriate fears, that's how you deal with them. If a bear came through the woods, yeah, you're going to do whatever you have to physically
right.
protect
Yeah.
yourself. That's the purpose of fear, is self-preservation.
Well,
But
when I was like in a fearful situation, I was a crew member for 35 years and I didn't like severe turbulence.
yeah,
I just didn't like that fear, and it could get kind of scary. And I would sit down and say to myself, one with God is a majority. And I convinced myself that
yep,
because I was on the airplane and I was attuned to the divine, the higher consciousness,
yep,
God, whatever you want to call it, everything would be okay. And that would take away my fear.
yep,
Yeah. You know, and then finally, after 15 years of flying, I completely lost my fear of flying.
yep, yep,
But you have to work on it. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, to any kind of thing that comes up that you know is not going to kill you, like
right,
it could be fear of public speaking or
yep,
meeting with someone or asking for a raise from your boss, whatever it is.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So that's a good tip that your audience can take with them.
Right.
And when any negative emotion comes up, you just repeat that. Relax, relax. I'm in control. I'm in control. I'm in control, and control your breathing.
Yeah.
So that's a good useful tool your audience can take away from this. And then again, by opening the hood of your mind, you can enhance your creativity and intuition. And that's pretty much it for the look-see we're doing today.
Well,
Now,
that was fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so aligned with what I teach when I teach the Silva workshop, because it's all about understanding how these different levels of consciousness work, but we're oblivious to it until we start studying it, don't you find?
right, right. And once you start studying life opens up and it becomes better and better and better. I
Well,
think that,
yeah, because you've got the tools. If
yes,
something is out of whack in your life, rather than just accepting it and, you know, thinking you can't do anything about it, you've got a toolbox that you can go to and you know how you can work on it, and it works. Millions and millions of people on the planet have proven these
yep,
laws of metaphysics are accurate.
yep. And what you're going to find is a lot of your audience may already be using some of these techniques and not understanding the theory behind it. But when you understand the theory, then you can be even more powerful using the techniques. They have a bigger impact.
Absolutely. And one of the things I've learned in my journey is metaphysics is a science. This comes under the realm of metaphysics. It is
Yes.
science. I mean, you know, there are laws governing the universe that are accurate,
Yep.
and there are physical laws governing the physical world that we study, but these metaphysical laws are very accurate. And when you understand how they operate, it gives you inner peace, which is nice.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So for future reference, I offer private consultations. I live in Massachusetts. I do coaching, and I can do that over Zoom for self-discovery, personal growth, and even for hypnotherapy. and custom training programs. I have an all-day program that can be utilized in the business world or with a group, an organization, and it can be customized. And it has a lot more slides than what we presented today, and we spend more time and more detailed on a lot of the slides with different techniques that can help people clear out the negativity, the past belief systems that are no longer appropriate, to make you more efficient in life. In other words, as I said before, the program is really about doing a mental tune-up, and your life becomes much happier and more efficient. It can be reached at 508-533-5525, or by email minddynamics22@gmail.com. I don't have a website yet because, again, I started so many years ago. I've always been doing things in person. And I am being motivated lately that I do need to get with the times. I have a Zoom channel, don't have a website yet. I do have the URLs all reserved. I just have to get a website going. And I need to get online training going. But Rebecca has all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you've been on her website, and it's a great website and a lot of good tools on that. So again, Rebecca, thank you for reaching out to me. This has been a real pleasure, and look forward to seeing some of your other YouTube videos.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Ed. I really enjoyed hearing your take on mind dynamics, because it's totally aligned with everything I love to teach. And I thought that was really interesting. Gives us a lot to think about. So thank you. And once again, people, I'll post this information on how to get in touch with Ed underneath the video. So thanks again. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.